One of the things we have to correct in America is people should not have to feel bad about living in any part of the country where their politics isn't the majority. And that works both ways.
I agree.
Like, you didn't feel comfortable there, and that's wrong. And look, I never stop ragging on liberals and woke people, not liberals. I'm a liberal. These people are different. For just being This is the I won't eat with you at Thanksgiving people. This is the no contact thing. But, you know, lots of liberals wouldn't be comfortable at a NASCAR rally either. I mean, there are places where but I will say, and this is something I'm going to say Friday night, the liberals are worse about this. I will admit it, and we have to look in the mirror on that one. We are just worse at the snobby thing.
Bill Maher recently sat down with Lara Trump, and the exchange was nothing short of explosive. Viewers on the left watched in disbelief as Maher and Lara joined forces to fire off some hard-hitting truths. Their rapid-fire back-and-forth was sharp, daring, and undeniably entertaining. Buckle up, things are about to get intense.
At this time of year for this show, I've done the same topic, I feel like, every year because I have to, because there's only one topic that's sort of appropriate, which is it's Thanksgiving. Be with your family. Don't cut off your family.
Agreed.
I know you do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Even when there's a lot of things we don't agree on, and there's certainly a lot of things your father-in-law does that I don't like, and he has let me know.
I'm sure he has.
Oh, yes. But, you know, but here's the difference. I'll tell you the difference. Mm-hmm. When I went there, I brought that is a page of 56 different, just the mind of a man who could come up with those many off the top of his head. I know, this is, of course, over many years.
Of course.
But still, it's just like, I couldn't come up with that many variations if I tried.
Very creative.
Let's dive in because this fiery exchange was one for the books. Maher didn't waste a second. He went straight for the jugular, calling out the left for turning nearly everything yes, even Thanksgiving, into a political battleground. He highlighted how some progressives now refuse to share a simple holiday meal with conservative family members, choosing ideological purity over family connection. To Maher, that mindset is exactly what ripping the country apart. His decision to bring Lara Trump on the show carried a broader message. People with vastly different views can still sit at the same table, share a meal, and have a thoughtful, respectful conversation. Disagreement doesn't have to destroy relationships. And Thanksgiving shouldn't become yet another casualty of America's culture wars.
They were giving all these jokes about something was going on with his hand. And I said,
the hand.
Save yourself. I'm 70. That could be my hand tomorrow.
It's true.
So
absolutely.
I'm not making fun of physical deformities and that stuff.
Good for you.
It was fun for a minute, and, but I don't need it. And if we can do that on a bigger basis where people are talking and giving, somebody has to give a little somewhere.
Exactly. I agree.
For anyone who missed it, online chatter recently surfaced about a minor vein-related issue affecting Trump's hand. It's not serious, not dramatic, and certainly not the political bombshell some on the left are trying to make it out to be. Predictably, a few critics seized on it, spinning a simple medical situation into another round of mockery. Maher, however, refused to play along. He stressed that physical conditions can happen to anyone and shouldn't be turned into cheap political ammunition. In his view, the left is grabbing at anything, no matter how ordinary, to take a shot at Trump, just as Biden has been mocked for his own age-related challenges. Maher called it exactly what he believes it is: desperation.
I always give the conservatives their props on that.
Yeah.
I say it almost every time a conservative is on the show or comes here.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm willing to sit down and talk to anybody.
Ask any conservative. Unfortunately, we can't ask Charlie Kirk, who was here.
That's right.
Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene was on real time, either here or on the show. Ask any of them. They will always, Ted Cruz, they will always say, we had a good time.
Yeah.
We had a good time. Now there are people who I wouldn't have here, like that little prick Nick Fuentes.
That is an unfortunate.
And this is exactly what seems to send some people on the left into full meltdown mode. Bill Maher daring to say something positive about conservatives. Nothing sparks backlash faster. For many on the activist far left, conservatives aren't just political opponents. They're people you shouldn't sit with, shouldn't share a meal with, and shouldn't acknowledge as having any reasonable viewpoints. So when someone from their own cultural sphere, like Maher, steps out of line and admits that conservatives might have a valid point or two, the response is outrage, almost a sense of betrayal. Instead of addressing the substance of what he said, the anger centers on the fact that he said anything positive at all. That the crux of it, even a hint of praise for conservatives, is treated as unacceptable.
Prick, like, Trump is not Hitler.
No.
I mean, Larry David said I had dinner with Hitler because it was such a bullshit thing.
Yeah.
Trump is not Hitler. This Fuentes kid, that's Hitler.
No, there's nothing I will say that I've heard come out of his mouth that I think I agree with, or many people who consider themselves MAGA. And quite frankly, the fact that he's got a Trump flag up behind him shouldn't say that, we agree with him. That's unfortunate. We need to get you a new lighter.
You know
what happened around here? We got anybody with a lighter? We need some help?
Maher has been taking heavy fire for pushing back on claims that Trump is the next Hitler. Some critics on the left are outraged that he won't echo their most extreme comparisons, and they've directed that frustration squarely at him. But Maher isn't budging. He argues that the accusation is not only wrong, but wildly irresponsible, especially coming from people who should know better. He even said that after a recent dinner he claims to have had with Trump, nothing about the interaction suggested a man plotting tyranny or genocide. To Maher, the Hitler comparison is a lazy, hysterical smear that trivializes real history. And for saying so, he now finds himself in the crosshairs of people from his own political lane.
I should have the right to choose. I shouldn't. The coercion that went on during COVID, I was not down with that.
Terrible.
Okay, so you can see why the left is very skeptical of me on that issue. I'm still not where RFK is, and where is he? I don't know, because he'll say one thing, and then I'm like, look, I'm reading it out of your book. I said to him, you said, all vaccines, you're against all vaccines. That's what you think? I said, yeah, you wrote it. You know what I mean? But he,
But he can have his opinion, and then there's public policy as well. And I think that for so many people who, look at the people who lost their jobs because they didn't get the COVID vaccine, all the problems it caused, right?
Maher also didn't hold back when criticizing how the left handled COVID, especially their approach to mandates and public pressure. He argued that the sweeping vaccine requirements were fueled as much by political overconfidence as by public health strategy. Those were difficult days, he said, when people were being laid off, ostracized, or treated as pariahs simply for refusing vaccination. And he felt uneasy about a shot promoted as a cure-all during a period when COVID guidance shifted so often that people weren't sure what to believe. Maher noted that a climate of fear and moral superiority took hold, creating an environment where dissent was punished rather than discussed. And then there was Dr. Fauci, appearing on television almost daily as the public face of the pandemic response, issuing confident statements that sometimes appeared inconsistent as scientific understanding evolved. Maher criticized what he sees as a lack of accountability, and the unwillingness of some on the left to acknowledge that the science changed in ways that contradicted earlier certainties. To him, it all became a textbook case of power colliding with panic, and the country paid the price.
Had him on the show, I thought, wow, this guy is just way too hungry. Thirsty, I think the kids call
thirsty.
It.
The kids do say thirsty.
He's thirsty and just too left for me, like California. And so, did I cry crocodile tears? No. But he and Letitia James, I think, in New York. I mean, we're talking about checking the wrong box on if you're going to do that, let's go through everybody's mortgage, because I think you'll find some people on your side who might have done that.
I can promise you this.
Maher also took aim at several prominent figures on the left over allegations of mortgage-related irregularities, pointing out what he sees as a gap between their calls for accountability and their own conduct. He referenced online chatter and media reports involving Eric Swalwell and Letitia James, noting that while the claims revolve around something as technical as mortgage paperwork, those details can carry real legal implications. Maher didn't frame it as a strictly partisan issue. In fact, he acknowledged that Republicans could just as easily find themselves entangled in similar controversies. But he emphasized Swalwell and James are the ones currently in the spotlight, and that's where the focus should remain, on verifiable facts. If any wrongdoing occurred, he argued, they should face the same scrutiny and consequences as anyone else. No political shield, no ideological excuses. Let the investigations unfold, let the evidence speak, and let the law operate the same way it would for any ordinary American.
Yeah. I don't totally agree with that. I think America's ready for a
completely disagree with
president.
it.
Yeah.
If people don't know, and we're going to talk about it on my show Friday, I think, she said, don't even ask me to run for president because we're not ready for it. And we prove that, and the country needs to grow up. And that is not my take on this. My take on this is, first of all, it's not a scientific fact that the two women who the Democrats ran lost because they're women, which is exactly what the premise of your comment is. We ran women and they didn't win. Well, first of all, Hillary did win.
Maher didn't hold back when reacting to Michelle Obama's recent comments suggesting that Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton lost their elections primarily because they were women. He called that argument overly simplistic and unscientific, saying it glosses over the far more complex realities of electoral politics. According to Maher, elections hinge on policy positions, messaging, and a candidate's ability to connect with voters, not solely on gender. I have to agree with his point. Reducing political outcomes to a single identity factor ends up obscuring the many practical reasons voters make their choices. Democrats didn't lose because they ran female candidates. They lost because their messaging, policy priorities, and campaign strategies failed to resonate widely enough. Voters ultimately respond to substance, effectiveness, and trust, not tokenism. Maher's critique underscores how oversimplifying electoral defeats through the lens of identity politics can do a disservice both to the candidates and to the democratic process. And in today's hyperpartisan climate, it's a perspective worth taking seriously.
One of the things we have to correct in America is people should not have to feel bad about living in any part of the country where their politics isn't the majority. And that works both ways.
I agree.
Like, you didn't feel comfortable there, and that's wrong. And look, I never stop ragging on liberals and woke people, not liberals. I'm a liberal. These people are different. This is the I won't eat with you at Thanksgiving people. This is the no contact thing.
Yeah.
But, lots of liberals wouldn't be comfortable at a NASCAR rally either. There are places where but I will say, and this is something I'm going to say Friday night, the liberals are worse about this. I will admit it, and we have to look in the mirror on that one.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more. Everyone deserves to feel safe, respected, and welcome wherever they are, no matter their political beliefs. At the end of the day, what truly matters is that we're all Americans striving for a better life, not only for ourselves but for our families and future generations. Political affiliation should never determine whether someone feels they belong in a community. Being a Republican shouldn't make me feel out of place in a predominantly Democratic neighborhood, just as being a Democrat shouldn't make anyone uneasy in a conservative one. Our shared humanity, common values, and collective desire for stability and opportunity should always come before partisan differences.
Are just worse at the snobby thing, I don't know any conservatives who don't at least talk.
Right.
Now, maybe that's because you won. Maybe that's because it's easy.
There was a time where we didn't.
And you still came. It's true.
Yes, there was a time we didn't.
They're happy warriors. I remember that term when I was a kid. Like, that was somebody who was like, and that's what Republicans usually are. They're happy warriors. They come there. And you see, I don't pull my punches. They take their shots like a man.
Yeah.
Maher's point drives this home. Political differences shouldn't stop us from engaging respectfully, building meaningful connections, or simply enjoying everyday life. Comfort, coexistence, and mutual respect should be the norm in every community, no matter which side of the political spectrum happens to dominate. We're always stronger when we focus on what unites us rather than what divides us. And once again, Maher didn't hesitate to praise conservatives, and it's easy to see why he says he does. Over the years, he featured far more conservative guests than liberal ones, and he insists there's a reason for that. In his view, conservatives are more willing to have their worldview tested. They show up ready to engage, defend their beliefs, and participate in real debate without relying on personal attacks or emotional theatrics. Their confidence, he says, makes for compelling television and genuinely productive conversations. By contrast, Maher argues that many liberals tend to feel more comfortable in echo chambers or on social media, where their views are amplified but rarely challenged. Outside those controlled spaces, he claims their arguments can sometimes fall apart under scrutiny, revealing a dependence on familiar slogans rather than rigorous debate. Maher finds this contrast fascinating. On one side, a willingness to engage openly; on the other, a performance aimed at applause rather than honest discussion. For him, that openness to real dialogue is what makes conservatives especially interesting guests. In the end, his appreciation isn't purely political, it's about the courage to engage, debate, and defend one's ideas out in the open. Conservatives, he says, bring that energy, while many liberals retreat to online reinforcement. That readiness to face scrutiny head-on is what keeps conversations meaningful, honest, and undeniably compelling. And with that, we'll wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.